Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now past the middle point of January of 2023, which only means we are getting very close to the release date of The Mandalorian Season 3 on March 1st. That's really going to kickstart the momentum by Jon and Dave of this new Star Wars universe that they all have mapped out and planned for the Star Wars franchise to really succeed and to really go beyond expectations. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, one thing that a lot of fans have been very curious about is exactly which aspects from the Star Wars prequels are going to be revisited by Jon, George, and Dave with all the upcoming Star Wars TV shows that are currently being developed in different stages. We have, of course, a lot of which that are in the early development phase that's now being worked on by Jon and Dave. One of which, of course, is a big one that is actually being, of course, created as we know it, labeled as Circle of the Wills. And one thing that George Lucas recently did, I believe, is really going to mark itself down as one of the biggest and greatest moments in Star Wars history that Lucas is allowing to happen. So let's tap right into this and exactly what's going on with George Lucas and exactly what he recently approved and what he actually convinced Disney's higher-ups to actually do with the upcoming Star Wars TV shows. So we already know that there's a lot of well-respected characters in the franchise, a lot of beloved characters in the franchise that fans grew up with, whether it was the prequels or the originals, whatever have you. A lot of that has really been getting, of course, transferred over into the current Star Wars TV shows led by Jon and Dave. So, with Star Wars shows like Kenobi and Boba Fett that got lots of criticism, Jon and Dave are focused entirely on getting positive fan reception with their upcoming Star Wars projects in the works. However, it's described that just recently George Lucas made the ultimate call on something substantial for the future of Star Wars. It's described that George Lucas recently cast who is set to portray Darth Plagueis himself in a new live-action series called Circle of the Wills, who was initially set to be portrayed by actor Michael Shannon. However, that has now all changed, and Lucas has all eyes on specific actors, of course, one of which at the top of the list, that even the Disney higher-ups are fully supporting Lucas's decision, as well as Favreau and Filoni. Now, Lucas recently decided to cast actor Ralph Fiennes to portray Darth Plagueis in one of the episodes of Circle of the Wills. The actor is best known for his performances such as Lord Voldemort in the Harry Potter films. And Lucas is said to have chosen Ralph since he loved how he performed his role in the Harry Potter movies. Now let me just stop right here for a second. Now, the thing that I really kind of like about this ultimate decision by George, and I think that there is a key reason why George Lucas may have very well chosen Ralph for the role of Darth Plagueis. If you look at the character of Lord Voldemort, I'm not saying that he looks exactly like Plagueis, but there's similarities to the overall nature of the character, the spirit of the character, how the character talks, how the character actually, just really kind of carries a specific type of spirit to its surrounding characters. Now, the fact that Ralph has had multiple meetings already with George and how he's now the one that's being chosen to portray Darth Plagueis in this new upcoming anthology series, Circle of the Wills, that's going to basically be a show that's going to tell us many tales that takes place throughout space and time, and that will be narrated by the godlike beings, the deities, if you will, telling the audience specific stories in different eras of the Star Wars franchise. So to have Ralph getting into this motion capture suit and really playing the role of Darth Plagueis for the very first time is big. This is something that fans have always been waiting for, something that fans have always requested. Jon and Dave are very well aware about that. They were actually a big part in of a role in making this happen, but George really was the one that really called the shots and pulled the trigger and said, let's get Ralph on board, let's get him to portray Plagueis in Circle of the Wills. That's going to be slated for 2025. We're going to be learning more about this, by the way, at D23 later this year, so keep your eyes open for that. However, moving on. Now, both Favreau and Filoni are creating an episode for Circle of the Wills that's going to explore Palpatine's fall to the dark side, and eventually the death of Plagueis will be seen on screen for the first time in live-action form. Training sessions between both Plagueis and Palpatine are also planned to be used in the upcoming series for 2025 on Disney+, that is considered to be an anthology series, though the perspective of course, the Wills will play a big role. Now, Lucas and Favreau have already storyboarded the entire scene in which Palpatine destroys Plagueis in his sleep, and that a young Palpatine is set to be portrayed by actor Bill Skarsgård for this episode alone. Now, let me elaborate things further, and let me make things a little bit more clear here, is that this is not in any way a Palpatine and Plagueis Star Wars TV show. What this is it's an anthology series that's going to tell different tales of different characters. So each episode is aimed to be 1 full hour each, and no less than that. They want to make it a full hour with credits separate. So 1 whole episode dedicated to Palpatine and Plagueis, showing us all these different events of basically Palpatine falling to the dark side, Plagueis, of course, meeting his demise by the hands of Palpatine in his sleep, and training sessions. Stuff like that will be the focus of this episode, and John and Dave have a very interesting marketing style. This anthology show is basically going to also be used as testing the waters of what they could use for other potential Star Wars dedicated TV shows. And this is probably the best way that you could do that. The fact that they're going to have an anthology show where multiple episodes are going to focus on things, for example, like Palpatine and Plagueis, another of which, for example, could very well be about another character in a different era. Things like that is how this series is going to roll. It's going to be narrated by the Wills, or the deities, if you will, the godlike creatures that created the entire Star Wars galaxy. And I like this. I think that this is a great move. I think that Ralph is a very fierce actor. He plays a lot of those villainous roles. I don't know if you guys saw him in The Menu. Some fans out there of Ralph did not like the movie. Some fans love the movie. But if you have seen it, you can really see how Ralph can really pour himself into the nature of such a villainous role that's pure evil and just purely just full of rage. And I like that. You can see how that could really spill into the character of Darth Plagueis. So, overall, guys, I think that this is a great decision by Favreau and Filoni, as well as George Lucas, making the ultimate call about all of this. And let me know what you guys have to say about all of this below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Night to moon, we hear them moans again.